everybody, and welcome to Team Dinner. My name is Jack Maloney. This is the show that sometimes sports, sometimes food, always Boston-based. My guest today is Christian Doan. You may know him as Chopstick Murphys on social media. Christian, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Open the chopsticks right now, actually, just so I can stay on brand.
That's right. Exactly. Chopstick Murphy.
Exactly.
I do have to say before we start, that's the best Instagram handle.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I'm actually very proud of that one, man. It was like one of those things where it came out of nowhere. I was just like sitting there one day, and I was just like,
holy shit.
Yeah. It was just,
that's almost a name so good that you come up with it, and you're like, well, shit. Now I have to be like. I have to go into this field because the name is so good. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Which this is the field I wanted to go into anyway, right? Because it was like Boston food, and I'm Asian, so it's like it worked out perfectly.
It's perfect.
But
it would be a bad. I couldn't use that.
Yeah, that would be pretty funny. It might get some extra views though, you know.
And then today we were eating dumpling. Actually, you know what? Juan. Do you know how to pronounce?
I've always said Schwan, to be honest, but I'm not Chinese, so that could be wrong as well.
Schwan,
could be
Schwan.
Could be something completely different. Who knows?
I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll call it Schwan.
Schwan, yeah.
So
Xuan though, for the people out there if they want to look it up.
Yep, on Cambridge Street in Cambridge. So I think before we dive in, I have the receipt here.
Okay.
If anything is unclear, I'd love
Let's see what we got.
I'd love a review.
Yeah.
Somewhere between, you knocked it out of the park,
Yep.
and this is like the Wonder Bread of orders.
So you're already using a fake name I see on the name here. That's great.
That's my legal name.
Can't trust the Chinese with their information.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay. We start off with a scallion pancake. I think honestly, for me, in terms of apps, one of my faves. So I always love that, and they have a really good one as well. This one says mini juicy buns with pork. And I don't know if that did you call it when you were talking to them, did you say those words?
Yeah, please.
That's nice. That's great.
The miniest and the juiciest.
Yeah.
Please.
So I think that means like a small soup dumpling.
I think.
Yeah, that's
that's
probably
those.
these
Yep.
ones, yeah.
Yep.
And are you familiar with soup dumplings in general? Okay, cool.
Yes.
Cool. So that's those. I like the naming there. Steamed shrimp dumplings. So that looks like those. I think for the Asians out there, they might know those as hak gao, which is like that dim sum dish, very popular, clear skin with shrimp. Also a great one. So far you're doing excellent. A little carb heavy, but that's me. I'm like a modern guy, you know, so I'm like, I'm trying to stay lean. But I think generally people would not hate you for this order. The next one, beef with longhorn peppers noodle soup. Or noodle, that must be this one here.
That's this one, yeah.
I've never tried that dish. It looks great. I do love beef with longhorn peppers in general. Not seeing the soup there, but maybe it's like just submerged. But that's fine. That sounds good. And then Taiwanese, basically fried chicken with basil, really good. Spicy crispy chicken, that's there. It looks like a drier, kind of like almost, like the classic sesame chicken, you know, which I'm all for it. I always order one of those like classic Americano Chinese dishes. And then fried cabbage, which is something I would never order generally, but I appreciate it. I do like a nice vegetable.
I tried to throw in a vegetable.
Yeah, no. I do appreciate the vegetable.
What is this?
That's the Taiwanese fried chicken with basil.
Got it.
So it's a really good dish. It's a nice like munching thing. So
cool.
What do you want to start with?
Start with the
scallion.
The clubhouse
Thank you,
favorite.
brother. And then I think this is probably our sauce here. We're gonna have a communal sauce. Can we swear on this, by the way? What's the?
Oh yeah.
Should I censor? Okay.
Let it rip.
All right. Cool. Yeah, just a natural thing.
It's got to be authentic, right?
Right.
I actually have a funny scallion pancake story. So one of my closest, dearest friends is his mom is from Taiwan.
Okay.
And so, and his, but grew up, here. She's Taiwan like until she was in her 20s, so very much, Taiwanese. He grew up here, very much kind of a white kid from the suburbs. But his mom would every once in a while get like super drunk and stay up late, and she would just cook like scallion pancakes like 3 a.m.
That's awesome, man. When she's so drunk, she's like forgetting she made the previous batch.
Just the pan. Here you go, back to the stove.
I love that.
And so I have like this, just like this I cannot. That was probably 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's like still to this day, I cannot eat scallion pancakes and not remember like this.
It's bringing you
Just
back.
this drunk woman just
Wow.
flinging them at us.
That's about as authentic of an experience as you can get, I think. So that's amazing.
And as you know, they probably haven't had them as good as hers.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think drunk cooking gives you like superpowers too, because you're just like you tap into the side of your brain. You're like, oh, I know where all this is, and you just make it so good.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, that's awesome. That's a lucky friendship.
Yeah, you access like this like ancestral piece
Yeah,
of you, right?
exactly.
Yeah, like there's recipes from your family from like generations ago.
Yeah, and then you
And,
forget when you become sober.
Yeah, that's right.
Ah,
But yeah, man, let's
Yeah.
dive in here. Please go in any
I just
direction.
had a dip of the sauce in the scallion pancake. Very good. Yeah, very solid scallion pancake.
Let's go in any and all directions.
Mm-hmm.
So
Do you eat a lot of Chinese food generally?
I do. I mean, I there's a place close to my house that I like to go to. I live in Union Square,
Oh, nice.
Somerville, so there's a pretty good smattering of options.
What's your favorite kind of knees
Ooh,
to eat? Cuisine.
what a loaded
Jap.
question.
Chine, Viet.
Oh God, I would say
Korean.
like, is this like a just like on a random day?
Yeah, let's say, oh man, like, it's a Friday night, you and your wife or whatever, like, let's just have some nice bomb food. We don't have to care about like the vibes or the scene. Let's go out and just enjoy food.
I do very much. This is tough because I love Thai. I may have
Thai's
to give the
probably my
nod. I may Thai is like everyday. Sushi is kind of like maybe a little bit more special. But no, we actually had. Have you ever heard of Nightshade Noodle Bar?
Yeah, I love that place.
Yeah. So have you been? They just opened. It's called Nightshade Clam Shack.
Oh, damn, no, I haven't.
It's like just during the day. Very good. And we were up there this weekend and we got a couple of things, but they had this catfish banh mi sandwich.
Ooh.
Very, very good.
Yeah.
And so, I love, I guess Vietnamese, now that I think about it, I don't know if I have like a go-to Vietnamese.
Yeah, it's tough being in
place.
Union Square. I'm trying to think, like, Cambridge is, there's not a lot of Vietnamese food out there. I guess like Pho Lay in Harvard Square is really the big kind of like classic Vietnamese place you guys can go to. But the big ones in Cambridge are not really traditional. It's like Cicada, the coffee bar. It's the Eves, which I think is like right by you.
Yeah.
Which are great, but they're more kind of like that new age avant-garde. The owner's like this very eccentric, kind of like Viet dude, like kind of artsy and very Cambridge kind of.
Yeah.
So he takes his restaurants in that direction.
Yeah, that they're getting a lot of recognition, right? Like national recognition.
Yeah.
I think that is. So, what about you? What about? Give me the I just said the ease hierarchy for you.
Oh shit, my bad.
That's all right.
So I definitely agree with you with Thai. I think Thai's my kind of like forever day to day, like just if I want something that I know I'm gonna love, Thai. There's like so many dishes in Thai food that will always hit the spot for me.
Yeah.
Khao soy, kimao, the curries, like it's just so good. Vietnamese is definitely my other top, just because cultural, it's sort of a home for me. It's familiar, and I think a big sort of like theme in my life is trying to like promote Vietnamese food to more people that like may not have tried the other dishes that like everyone knows pho and like maybe some rice dish here and there, but to see like a lot more other Asian cultures or American cultures try Vietnamese food in a more exploratory or like adventurous way. Like that to me is probably one of the reasons I kind of like started the food kind of like scene. So yeah, I love Vietnamese food a lot as well. Yes, that's really that Southeast Asia region.
Yeah.
And Korean food, because Korean food's just so good, dude. Spicy and
I know.
yeah.
Do you go to Koreana? What's your?
Korean is great for
Yeah.
this area, but for me, Alston is like where you got to go for Korean food.
All right. Well, give me a rec.
I think if you've never been to Alston and you want to try some good Chinese or Korean food, definitely it's a place called Myeongdong. It's
Okay.
on the intersection of Harvard Ave and Brighton Ave.
Okay.
Spelled Myeongdong, which is very memorable. But
Can't forget that.
yeah, but it's got great vibes. Open late. A lot of industry folks out there, like
Yeah.
restaurant industry folks, will go there after their shift.
Nice.
Got great drinks, great like soju-based cocktails. They'll serve them in these big hollowed out watermelon pour the soju in there, and then really good food as well. Yeah, so that's probably my rec for those who haven't tried Alston yet.
All right. That's a good one. And you spoke a little bit to I think what is I think it is an important thing, right? Is that kind of why you started down this path, right?
Yeah.
Which is there's, I think it's probably common, right? That we, I would say maybe the average American has probably never tried Vietnamese food, but even in the average, city dweller who lives in a melting pot, may only know what you said, right? They've had a banh mi sandwich at lunch one day, or whatever it is. They had pho when they were hungover. Some version of that, right? I guess how have you found? So you started making the content that you make like a little over a year ago.
About a year ago, yeah.
And that's awesome. So I think you've accomplished like a ton.
Yeah,
in a
it
year.
grew like way faster than I ever expected, man. Like,
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I think you have like I will say, you're right. You're a very good writer.
Yeah.
And I don't. If you don't think that of yourself, then please take this as like your writing is good. And I don't know how much is written or how much you're just like kind of freestyling as you do your voiceovers, but it's like legitimately funny. And I think it's like there's a dichotomy, right? That is so I think you really kind of struck a chord with the tone. It's like I think a lot of times people take this stuff so seriously.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate. That's actually the biggest compliment I think you could give me, because I've always loved writing. I think like at the end of the day, if I were to call myself anything, it probably would be a writer, rather than like, because I definitely don't review food. Like,
Right.
if you've seen the content, I rarely talk about food. But no, I like. I was an English major at UMass Amherst. I had to double major because that wasn't getting me anywhere, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I always just love reading and writing and story and narrative. So that's kind of like how I fell into the style that I do now.
Nice. Yeah. You got a stand-up career in your future, I think.
People say that, but I'm actually like horrified of being on stage and in front of people. Like even this is quite like nerve-wracking. So I don't think that's the case. Like if I'm going to go into entertainment, it would be as a writer, I think. So,
yeah. I think. I get it. I would say having a microphone on a stage and nothing else that to me is probably
like I'm sweating right now.
Yeah. Well, that's great. And I think obviously the response, right, is indicative of that you've struck this nerve, I think, with folks. And I think the other thing that I like is I don't know how I would fully talk about it or fully describe it, but like the vibe is a lot, like the vibe of a place, right? I think is like a thing you talk about a lot. I think is in my 2 cents, right, is in Boston, maybe more so than the surrounding area, but like Boston is very expensive, right? The rent is incredibly high, so you have a lot of these places that have to come in. My opinion, they have to charge a lot for the dish, right? So what they do is they do all this like kind of nonsense around you to try and make it, the $45 cheeseburger seem worth it.
Exactly.
And I think you do a good job of like cutting through that, and calling it out for what it is. So please continue down that. But I mean, have you found, I know you're from the area, you live here now. Have you found like the sort of Boston food scene kind of heading in a direction, kind of more like that, right? More almost like corporatized for lack of a better word.
I think. I mean, yeah. from my perspective, I think yes. It might just be because of the places that I've gone to a lot recently. And again, I've only been in the scene for like a year, so it's hard to say like where we're going because I'm not quite sure where we came from. Like, but it does seem that like the restaurants that are like the ones that are being talked about, the ones that are getting like a lot of PR and recognition are the ones with a lot more financial backing.
Yeah.
And usually that means they're associated with a group.
Right.
Which I don't necessarily think is a bad thing. Like in all cases, like a lot of my favorite restaurants in Boston proper, like the city, are those types of groups. Like the Koji group is fantastic. So that would be the Mariels, the Yvonnes, the Lolitas. The A Street Hospitality group, they're close friends of mine now. I made like a video early on, basically like kind of doing what you're saying. Like it's almost like satire of the people that go there. It was kind of like almost a little bit offensive. And so I didn't know them at the time. And I was like, oh, they might not like that. But it turns out the owners really enjoyed it. And so we kind of became close, which is really great.
Nice.
They do a really great job as well with Mediterranean food. So Greek, Italian, and I'm talking like authentic kind of old world Greek, Italian. Such Trade, Porto, Saloniki, and the new one is La Padrona. Yeah. All fantastic. Yeah. And then obviously Columbus, so that's like high end. I've never even eaten at any of those restaurants. Like that's out of my price range, but everybody says those are fantastic. So Ostra, Mu, Mistral, there's just been stalwarts of the Boston community for a long time. So that's kind of just to say, like, they're all restaurant groups, but that they don't necessarily mean they're bad restaurants. They're definitely going to be pricier relative to like what you're getting. Yeah. But I don't think in Boston, like it's hard to find really what you might consider affordable, great food. I think you got to go outside of the city for that. That's right. Which is fine. You know, it's very easy. It's a small like radius. Yeah. Traffic's horrible, but like you make it work.
Short as the bird flies, long in the Uber. I think that's right. Are you having? I think with the success that you found, are you having restaurant groups like reach out to you about partnerships or what have you? Have you found that? That's how I guess maybe you can get onto the Mistral.
Maybe. Tier, so the Mistral people, they know me. They one of the directors there with a lot of mutuals, and we've chatted a bunch of times. But she always said like I'm fine with this too. Yeah. But like a lot of the kind of higher end restaurants, because of the nature of my content, quite vulgar, like irreverent. Right. People are just like, don't come. like if you come, like we're not, like we don't, like we. Yeah. We don't want it to seem like we invited you. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So, like we've had some back and forth where I would text her. The only one I actually have been to is Mistral, and our friend texted her like, "Oh, I'm gonna bring Chopstick Murphys in for dinner, and we're gonna eat." And she was like, "Make sure he doesn't finger the food," like because that's one of my moves. Like I'm always like stroking the food, and so that's kind of the vibe. I think that's how like I don't know all the groups, but the people that I do have connections with in the industry, it's like, I like your content. I think it's funny, but just like, I don't want a part of it, which is fine. Yeah, because for me, like the relationships is more important than like free food and shit. So
sure. Yeah, I think that's step one, right? Mm-hmm. First they say don't finger the food. Yes. And now they come, call back a bad month. Yeah. We need you to come finger our food. Yeah, exactly. Right? You have a unique set of skills and fingers that we need to employ. On camera. Bring out a bunch of liquids.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I think like to go back to the relationship piece though, that's been like the biggest and coolest side effect of this whole journey. Yeah. Is getting to know like these people in the industry, because I worked in the industry for a long time. I was a server, a lot of the front of house positions, and then I kind of really missed it. Mm-hmm. And I think the sense of humor that is in a lot of the content that I do, a lot of the industry people like appreciate it, or they relate to it. And so I think more so than a lot of the other food accounts, they're like, oh, this guy's like almost like he kind of sees what we see in many ways. And so that allowed me to kind of develop these friendships with a lot of people that are like chefs or owners. And to me, like, I never expected that at all. I thought like most of them would kind of like hate me, and a lot of them probably do. But like the ones that I hear from are the ones like, yo, your shit is hilarious. Like let's hang out or whatever. And so, like that has been amazing. Like more than anything. And I never expected that. That's what I think is the most rewarding thing so far.
Yeah. I get that. I guess if you think about it, like any any industry from the inside looks very different than it does from the outside, right? And it's almost like to treat the food industry with like that level of like New York Times kind of highbrow version is probably not lived by people who are in that space every day, right? Like, the person who's working at the Michelin star restaurant is a very different day to day, right? Than the person who's coming there and dining.
That's such a great point. Yeah.
And I would imagine on some level that the tone that you're taking is resonating, sounds like, with the people who are working there, maybe more so than that the management wants to be perceived as, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like, not to generalize too much, but I think a lot of industry folks they do have a deep love for the industry. That's why they're in it, because it's like a horrible, like, it's a very grueling industry.
Yeah.
But because of that, they also are very, like, cynical about it.
Yeah.
And use, like, humor to kind of cope a lot of the times. Yeah. So I think that I'm also very cynical, and so that's kind of my style, and I think that probably was what you're saying. That's probably why they resonate.
Yeah, it's never as glamorous on the inside, right? And so to make that glamorous content is just probably feels super disingenuous to someone who's been working as a line cook or a sous chef or anything back of house or front of house, I would imagine.
I will say, though, look, I really, really respect the other food accounts that are able to make anything look beautiful. Like, that's a skill I don't have, and I really wish I could. Like, there's another guy who I think would be great on this show, honestly. His name's Armani. His handle's Forking with Armani. He's like he's another big Asian food blogger here in the city, but he does a lot more of the high-end stuff, and just all his content is so gorgeous.
Yeah.
But he's also a really great personality too. So I think maybe I can
I'll
intro you guys at some point. But
I'd love to.
yeah, he's the man.
Do you? I've noticed a little bit of crossover, but do you find yourself? Are there opportunities to work with other kind of content creators in Boston? From what I've seen from researching you and some others, it doesn't seem like it's a very big community, right?
Tiny.
It doesn't. It seems like you could probably, get a group together in an afternoon and meet a lot of, not everybody, right?
Yeah. No, yeah. I guess a little maybe like behind the curtain, or like, what do you call it, behind the scenes or whatever, of what would be called, quote unquote, influencer PR, is a lot of the restaurants that might have a PR budget or a marketing budget, so usually, again, associated with groups, if they're having like an opening or something they want to promote, they'll throw an influencer event or social media event and basically invite all of us. And so there are often those events that you'll run into pretty much like everybody in the scene. So like if you go to a couple of those a year, you're most likely going to see a lot of the accounts, a lot of the people running the accounts at those events. And for the most part, it's very like surface level interactions. You go, oh, hey, like, good to see you. It's weird, man, because like sometimes, like, I'm very new to the game relative to a lot of the other people, so I had no idea how to act really at these events. But like I'll be like, it's like you see somebody on screen, and you probably get this like because you were in Hollywood for a long time. But it's like this person's face and a lot of probably about their life, but you see them in person, then you're like, how do I act? You know? So when I see a lot of the other accounts, or at least like before I knew them and started going to more of these events, I'd be like, oh, like, I don't know what to say. It felt like kind of a celebrity, right?
Yeah.
So, but now, we pretty much just like say hi. There's people. It's kind of cliquey too. Like there's people that like hang out and like are more close, and people that aren't as close, and there's groups, which is natural.
Right.
But yeah, I like a big thing for me too is like community, and like I think because it's such a small city and the scene is small, I think it's very easy to meet everybody and know everyone on a first name basis, and I think like why not just like go hang out and do like collaborations with other food people. We obviously have something in common, which is that we love food. I'll get back to that later actually, because some people actually like don't actually like food, they're just doing it for clout, which is crazy. But but yeah, I know. So that's always a bummer when I meet people like that. Cause I'm like, oh man, like I thought, But yeah, no, a lot of like if you go to my page, you'll see me collaborate with a lot of other people, and those are people that generally also love food, and and it's just fun. We just hang and talk about food or just talk about life or whatever because we're all like generally in the same age. Although there's a lot of accounts that come here for college, and then they're like doing like, oh, I'm like food diary in Boston, and usually these will be like on the smaller side of accounts, a couple thousand followers here and there. But like if you have a couple viral videos, then you can get up in follower count, right?
Yeah.
And it's tough sometimes because I'm 30, so it's there's been times where people have been like, oh, like let's hang out, and then I find out they're like an undergrad, and I'm like, oh, like I can't, you know? Like that's like no, yeah, but yeah, but no, I think like that's another kind of if I have any kind of goal with the page, it'd be to help kind of build the community here, the food community, between restaurants and social media.
It's funny, you know, because I think again, because I think there's Boston, right, and then there's Greater Boston, right, and I think you're talking about two different things, right? You're talking about, you know, Boston is that kind of what we were talking about before. It's a lot of high end, you know, larger restaurant groups, and then, you know, a lot of the mom and the pops I found are either on the outskirts, right? You got to go to Dorchester, Roxbury if you're in Boston, Allston, Brighton, you know, those are kind of where those places exist, or you go to, you know, Somerville, Cambridge, you know, Malden, Medford. I think
you named literally that's exactly what I would have said. All those places.
Those are. Oh, I feel pretty good. You know, and I think that's where like that kind of that level of like authenticity and more maybe the mom and pops exist. But you know, I think Boston. So Boston kind of gets probably when people think of Boston food, in my opinion, from the outside, they're thinking of like downtown Boston, right?
Yes.
Whereas like you have to, you know, travel a little bit.
Yeah.
And you know, I think coming back from, you know, time in LA, you know, I grew up here, but then I left when I was 18, and so it had been a long time. And you know, when I was 18, I was like Burger King and that was McDonald's. That was pretty much it. So I was come, you know, with a pretty fresh set of eyes, and I've been like, I think really, really surprised at the quality, at the variety. You know, again, you know, I think people, especially people who like, you know, I think New Yorkers probably are like the tip of this pyramid, Chicago maybe too, but like they have everything within 5 minutes from themselves, right? So like they can't, the thought of like me saying like, I have a great, whatever you want, I have a great version, but we might have to drive 10 or 15 minutes, right? But I've been like really pleased, I would say, like overwhelmed by the quality, and like, you know, my wife and I on the weekends we often try new places. It's like we're going at a pretty healthy clip, and the list keeps getting longer and longer and longer, right? So I've been so again to your point, you know, I think that that kind of work, you know, to shine. I mean, not to mention, like, I don't know if you've ever, I've just one day and I was overwhelmed, but like I think Lowell has a lot of really good options. Someone was just telling me that like some of the best Cambodian food in the country is in Lowell.
Yeah,
I was like,
that's definitely true, man. There's a lot of great Cambodian and Southeast Asian food in Lowell. There's a huge Cambodian population there, which makes sense, right? But it's like to your point, overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
Which is great, like, because people say Boston's food scene is lacking, but if you're willing to go into Greater Boston, you can definitely find some stuff. This is a question for you. I mean, I guess because you left, so you probably don't have a strong opinion on it. But like, people get pissed when you call, like, Cambridge, when you say like, oh, like if you were looking for you know, best like Sichuan food in Boston, it's in Cambridge, right? Like a lot of food people online will say that.
Yeah.
And then the comments will always be like, you're fucking like,
not Boston.
Yeah, go back to China. You don't know what Boston is, you know, like, but yeah, no, I think like, because when we say Boston a lot of the time, we are saying Greater Boston, right? But I think people get kind of really sensitive about that.
Yeah, I would say like people, I mean, the racism aside, right? That's probably hopefully an older generation that's maybe aging out, but that the identity of place, right? And how people cling so tightly to like where they're from. And I think that happens. That is like not socioeconomic. That is not gender. That is not race. That is like a thing that is just, I found to be like quite ubiquitous.
Oh yeah.
That like, so if you're from Cambridge, and you've lived in Cambridge forever, or you've lived in Malden forever, or you've lived in Boston forever. The flip side, right? Then the thought of someone saying a falsehood about that, even if it's like the smallest, most fucking insignificant falsehood of all time, it like triggers something in you, right? Whereas for me, like I you know, why get bent out of shape for that? But I do find that people like that people get really tied to where they are from, and it like exists on levels, right? It's your town, it's your county, it's your state, it's your country, right? It's your political party.
Exactly.
It's just people like get fucking tied up in knots about like this is who I am, and this is, and so like, you know, when you see someone lose their shit on social media because someone's all the best restaurants in Boston are in Somerville, and everyone's like, that doesn't make any sense, right?
I love that. That's a really great point, though, and I've always been like, I guess maybe this might be getting like too deep or whatever, but like I feel like I feel like I haven't had like a very strong sense of identity one way or another my whole life, so that's why I think like I don't care about any of that stuff at all, and so me being the kind of guy that likes to trigger people, for fun online, I started doing this thing where, because I noticed like when I would post a video in Harvard Square and be like, oh, just like 10 minutes outside of Boston or whatever, like I'll call it, you know, best, you know, Felipe's, Taqueria. I'm like, oh, like if you're in Boston, you want to get a good fucking margarita and burrito, go to Felipe's, and people get pissed in the comments. And so I'm like, yo, they get so sensitive. I'm gonna start calling like Lowell Boston. Yeah. And so now it's to the point where I just did a video because I'm kind of like branching out into travel content. Yeah. I did a video in Scottsdale, Arizona, and I was just like, only 6 hours outside of Boston. Like, it's just like, like everything is now Boston. Like I just because I feel like it's so silly that they keep getting so bent out of shape about like calling something Boston or not Boston.
It's true. Yeah, you go to southern New Hampshire, call it Boston.
Yeah. Isn't there an airport called like the Boston Airport like up there or something too? So I was like, I don't even know, man.
The Manchester. That's the Southwest.
Manchester, Boston Airport or some shit.
Yeah. People are funny. So
Have you tried this though? It's real good.
I know. So I think the travel content is. I think that's the right move. I think travel is. Again, people are taking it too seriously, man. We gotta.
It's ripe for disruption, as they say.
Knock them down a peg or two.
Yeah. I mean, part of the reason is I do travel a lot. It's like a very fun activity for me. But also, like, people always keep asking me, like, when are you gonna monetize your content? Like, make money. You've like got a good amount of followers now. You can definitely. Oh, I see what's going on here. That's so interesting. I think this is like a. Is this a like no one does like magic cereal balls? Hold on a second. This is a Chinese contraption.
It does have that.
Yeah. Because this thing is like that too.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, that's sick. All right, we're gonna just.
There we go. Look at that.
That's awesome.
I can take that.
Oh, thank you. All right, so that all makes sense. We're talking about travel. So yeah, I don't make any money off of the social media thing because I just like. Not saying if you do it like it's bad or whatever. I just personally don't want to take money from restaurants because I know it's like a hard business. So like a lot like people do, like we'll charge like a fee or whatever to show up and do a review for them. But especially for me, as I said, like I don't even know. I don't talk about the food. I'm not gonna make you look good necessarily all the time. So I definitely don't want to charge money in that way. And so I was like, all right, well, if I can start doing travel content, then the audience is bigger, and then also the monetization options are more diverse, right? You got like airlines, you got hotels, all this stuff.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So where to next? Where's the next? You got a trip plan?
I've been doing a lot of just New York recently.
Yeah.
It's easy. So I might go down this weekend, and then probably Toronto.
Nice.
And later this summer, I'm going to Portugal and Paris.
Where in Portugal?
Gonna do Lisbon, and then drive over to Porto.
Yeah.
And do some day trips in between.
I
nice.
did the same trip a couple years ago.
Nice.
It's awesome.
I'm so
yeah.
excited, man. Did you? This is my first time in Europe. Have you been to like a lot of countries there?
Yeah, I've been to Ireland, England, France, Netherlands, Belgium. So kind of, I spent 6 months in London, so I was able to pop around, kind of, but not I have a very rich London experience. I
Yeah.
would say, not a very rich the rest of Europe outside of like weekend trips or vacations. So
Yeah, I asked just because like I was wondering how Portugal compared to some of the other places you've been to, but
So Portugal I had a really, really good time. Porto I love. Porto's it's a smaller city. So it feels a little bit more like, almost like Boston kind of, right? Versus Lisbon is like, not nearly as big as New York, but it is, the New York of Portugal,
Okay,
maybe let's
yeah.
say. So it feels much more like you're in a large city. But yeah, there's the food there. I'll actually give you, there's this, it's probably the top, I want to say maybe top food experience of my life. Was it this like little hole in the wall? Like everyone who worked there was like 22. It was like looked like a bunch of friends just opened a restaurant.
Whoa.
And the waiter came over and we were just like, give us, their menu was like on a chalkboard right here, right? And like he was writing it as we got there.
damn.
And they're like, these kids are like ripping shots, the whole
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
just like
Oh, that's so
having
fun.
a party while they're, it's like the first priority is to party. The second priority was like to run a restaurant,
I love that.
So we just were like, give us whatever, like just, give us whatever you recommend. And it was like, the food was great, but it's like, I'll text you, but Taberna Sal Grosso was the name of it. Which is, so if you can go there, I may be talking it up too much now, which I like to go into places with low expectations.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
kind of the place where like, and when you're done with your dinner, they bring over like 3 bottles of like local liqueur, and they just like have as much as you want, stay as long as you want.
Whoa,
we don't
that's
care.
so fun.
So you can just like sit there, finish your dessert, and just like pour your own shots basically,
That's so sick.
and stay as long as you want to. And I found that Portugal had a lot of that, which is just like so European. Right?
Yeah,
it just
yeah.
you're not gonna get that here.
I love those types of dining experiences
Yeah.
where it's like, it feels like they're just like, oh, just come hang out with a bunch of people that
Yeah.
live here.
Yeah.
That sounds so fun.
Yeah, it was a house party basically where you got to eat food, and like I would have paid I think I tipped like the whole bill was like $60.
Wow.
And I think I gave him like a 200% tip.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
This is a phenomenal. You should be charging more. This is like the best experience I've ever had.
Wow. I love that, man.
So
How's LA's food scene?
I would say, so where I lived in like West Hollywood, Hollywood area. So I would say kind of a little bit more of like what we were talking about with Boston, right? Which was, real estate is expensive. So it's like a lot of like restaurant groups, kind of more, higher end, big, to use the term again, like all the pomp and circumstance of like a restaurant like that. So that wasn't always, that was kind of hit or miss. Some really good, but some not so
Yeah.
good. And then I would say like, same thing. You get in the car and you drive a little bit.
Yeah.
Like Koreatown is maybe like the coolest.
Yeah, I have a friend that lives there. We just visited him recently.
So
I love
you've
Koreatown.
been. Isn't that like,
Yeah, but I haven't explored a lot of LA, but Koreatown's one of the places that I have, and
It-
it was awesome.
that just to me is just like what a unique place, especially in this country, right? Like,
Yeah.
I just like there's like intersections there, right, where you could stand in the middle of the intersection, look in all directions, and like not see a sign in
Yeah,
English, right?
so
And like
crazy.
that is, to me, that is like a cool thing. You can walk in any strip mall and have one of the best meals
Yeah,
of your life.
yeah.
And so there's that I think was really unique. There's a lot of obviously really good Mexican food. Yeah, but same kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
I
it's like
think,
you gotta drive a little bit.
you got to be able to be a little mobile.
Is LA kind of like Boston in the sense that, what people say Boston is quite segregated? Like, oh yeah, you go to, Dorchester, you're gonna get a certain type of food and a certain type of people. You go to Malden, same thing.
Yeah.
Chinatown, if you want Chinese food, like, it's not like where you mentioned New York, where you can just walk outside and you want anything, you just grab it,
Yeah.
kind of for the most part. Is LA more like that or more like Boston?
I would say like maybe in between, but definitely
Mm-hmm.
more like Boston.
Okay,
In that
okay.
you got to be prepared to try. Like where I would say, I mean, Mexican aside, right? Because I think Mexican has become so.
Like basically is
Yeah,
Southern
whi-
California.
Yeah, right. Like, I think like white people have like claimed Mexican food,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
In LA, right? So, for for better or for worse, probably for worse, but it's just that's Mexican is everywhere, but I think like a lot of those Korean food, I think there's definitely like little enclaves around, but the thing about LA, which is I think not unique to LA, I think it's happening everywhere, right? It's just like the massive rise in limited availability of housing, real estate rises that like there's just like I don't know where these communities go basically, right? I don't know where like they're just where the working class people of any ethnicity. I don't in LA they keep getting pushed further and further and further and further out, and it's just spreading because it's just not. It's just I don't think it's. I don't think they have enough housing.
Yeah.
Or I don't know what the problem is, but I think they're having some trouble for sure. But generally good. But if you've been to Koreatown, I think you've seen the best of it.
Okay, nice.
So you don't. I wouldn't plan a trip just for the food.
Yeah. There's actually a I don't think this is LA anymore, but it's like south of LA or some shit. It's like Westminster and Garden Grove. Like I guess that'd be OC, right?
Yeah, I think.
Orange County, but that's like Little Saigon. It's
Yeah.
like the big Vietnamese population in the U.S.
Yeah.
And so similar to Koreatown, where you mentioned you just look around, it's all Korean people and Korean language. Same thing there for Vietnamese food. And we also did that, and that was awesome as well. It's
Yeah.
the best. It's like definitely the best Vietnamese food I think I've ever had. But yeah,
Nice.
yeah, very cool.
Yeah. So I feel like. So did you make travel content when you went there, or that was before? So now
Before, yeah.
Now you do have to go back.
I know I do, yeah.
Yeah, I think. Have you ever seen? I think one of my favorite travel episodes of a program was the Anthony Bourdain. I don't know which one of his shows it was, but when he went to Koreatown. Have you seen
I
that?
know exactly that episode. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
That's a very good episode.
It's great. He starts with this Korean artist, David Cho.
Yeah.
And he's like, take me to Koreatown. Take me to some like authentic Korean places that like Korean people like go to eat when they live here in Koreatown. And he's like, okay, I'll take you to Sizzler, which
Yeah.
is like, I don't know. We don't have that up here, but I guess it's like a chain.
Yeah, it's
kinda
like a kind of cheap all-you-can-eat buffet.
Yeah,
type thing. Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, this is just like where my family ate. And,
Yeah.
but yeah, that was a really telling episode. I think talked about Roy Choi
Yep.
in that episode too. So he invented or at least popularized the which now very popular Korean Mexican fusion.
Yep.
With his food truck in L.A. And we have some really great kind of that genre of food in Austin as well. So Koreanos is Korean Mexican fusion. Olitoki, so you can get the spicy pork bulgogi burritos and tacos. It's a very good combination, and
Yeah.
it's also very LA, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Because Mexico and Korea. But
Yeah, I would say that episode is. I found that it's kind of a similar tone of what you're saying, right? Like you're going to be on TV. You get 20 minutes. What are you doing? We're going to Sizzler.
Yeah.
Right? That's kind of the. That's like
Yeah.
you can't take this too seriously, right? Like how many people would have been given that opportunity and been like, I gotta find like the hippest, coolest, most under the radar. Now it's
yeah.
I'm gonna go.
You
Gonna
know,
go to
this is
Sizzler.
I love that.
All right, so maybe we do a couple like rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Restaurants.
Sure.
We'll keep the negative out of it, unless you want to go negative. But we don't.
No,
have
I
to.
don't.
I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to ask what's the worst place in
That helps no one.
Yeah,
right?
we won't. We won't. Put your target on your back or anything like that. All right, so let's do it. I know you do a version of this on your podcast.
Oh, you've seen it.
Which,
Yeah.
Which I think is very good. Which is it's funny. I was kind of thinking about this, and then I watched that, and I was like, shit, he's doing this better than I am. All right, so best restaurant, one meal, death row, last night on Earth. Where are you going?
Okay, yeah. So this one would be Pikaichi. So that's a ramen shop in the Boston neighborhood of Medford.
Yeah.
It used to actually be right on BU campus, right in the Super 88 Asian market there. I used to live in Alston right across there, and that's where I kind of like developed a love for ramen. By far, and this is not an exaggeration, the best ramen I've ever had on the planet. And I've been to Japan 7 times. I've had hundreds of ramen in Japan trying to find something that even compares to Pikaichi. And it's like, it's just so good. And again, subjective, right? So I'm not saying if you like a tonkatsu ramen, which is like a thick pork broth, it's very rich, but it's very mild in flavor. It's like you just kind of want to taste the pork bone. This is not the place. This is for if you like a little lighter broth, so it's not like that like really fatty broth. It's clear. It's more flavorful and more aromatic. So they use a lot of onion, garlic, chili. It's just flavor packed. And maybe because I grew up kind of American palate, I like those hard hitting flavors. And I just think like that they just do such a good job. And they're always packed. Like you have to wait like quite a bit to get in, which I'm not mad at because they're worth it. They recently started doing a promo where if you get 10 bowls of ramen, you can get a free t-shirt. I did that in like 2 weeks. So yeah, there has been one time where I went for a friend's birthday party. We had like 8 people. We each got 2 or 3 bowls of ramen. All my friends, we just absolutely love that place. So Death Row Meal, definitely Pikaichi.
All right.
Yeah.
That's a good answer. I've been there.
No way.
It is excellent. I would say that my palate is not sophisticated. So I've been, to me, it's just like, are the noodles fresh? That's kind of like the how sophisticated I get.
Sure.
Because you can tell like if the noodles, at least I can tell if the noodles have not. And so like to me, there's like, does it fresh or is it not fresh ramen? And so for me, like I thought it was great, but
do you remember what broth you got? Because that is also actually a key factor here.
It was definitely
Spicy or no?
It was not spicy.
Okay, yeah. So they'll probably most likely was the like shoyu, which is the soy sauce base.
Yeah.
Clear, dark. It's still really good, but I think the one you got to get is the spicy miso there.
All right, I'm going back.
Yeah.
This weekend. All right, that was an excellent answer. Let's go. So on one of your videos, not to hold you to this, but you said Italian food was your favorite white food. Yes. Is that accurate?
It is. I think still to this day. That was an early video of mine. Actually, that was the first one that went viral. I said Italians make the best food out of all the whites, and that comment got a lot of controversy because I learned that apparently Italians aren't white.
They don't view themselves as white.
Yeah. So that was very interesting to me, and I learned a lot through this page. And that's one of those things. But I still think Italian food is my favorite because maybe it's because we're in Boston. It's just like a very common cuisine.
Yeah.
And so when I was growing up, my mom would cook a lot of Italian food.
Yeah.
So it'd be Vietnamese Italian food, and so it's comforting to me. I also think it's delicious.
Yeah.
I love garlic. I love the white wine and lemon garlic sauce is like one of my all-time favorite sauces. You often get that with like the clam, right?
Yeah.
With the linguine. And then, pasta, obviously great. So, no, Italian food's probably my fave still. Greek is a second.
Vietnamese Italian.
I've thought of that many times. I don't know how it would work, but yeah, I would love to make that happen.
That's your Roy Choi moment. You heard it here first. So, do you have a favorite Italian spot, or is it just kind of like popping around the North End? Can't get a reservation, you go any number of places.
I think my all-time fave it's called the Daily Catch. They have a couple locations. I'm a big seafood guy.
Yeah.
They do a really good calamari salad there. So I don't like fried calamari. I love fried calamari, but I don't like it as much as the like not fried. So they do like a good calamari salad where it's, I don't know, stir fried or some shit, like boiled, but it's very good, like marinated. And then La Padrona recently opened. We went there for the opening event, and we got kind of a sampler of the menu, and that was really, really good. They take it and this is their word because I don't really know the history, but they take it into the more like Italian, where a lot of food in the North End is American Italian, right? Which makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's much lighter. It's more vegetable forward, and I like that a lot. But Yeah, so those two probably
Those are
top of mind.
those are top. Okay, how about? Is there any cuisine you don't fuck with? Get it away from me. Never want to see it again.
Yeah. Not no, like there's no cuisine that I actively dislike, but I ask a version of this question on my podcast as well, which is if you had to eradicate one cuisine from the face of the earth, meaning you and no one else could ever have it again. So it's more of like which one would you be least sad to see go? And my answer is Indian food.
Yeah.
Which is, again, it's not that I don't like Indian food. I like Indian food a lot, especially like certain dishes. But I think it's just the one that I would, yeah, I don't know. There's all the other ones I'm like I can't do it, and like, maybe it's because I don't know, not as experienced. But yeah.
Yeah. Kill your darlings.
Yeah.
I would say. What if? I mean,
What about you on that one?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
And, Indian is a good one, right? Because it's incredibly. People have like a spiritual reaction, right, to Indian food sometimes, which I've never. Even in like, we were in London, which has a tremendous amount of Indian food.
I will say
right?
London Indian food is incredible.
Yeah, and I was like, this is really good, but I don't know if I'm fully understanding it. In the way I should be. Yeah. So yeah. I think Indian is good. I cannot give up Mexican. No. I can't. Anything from Latin America really is very good. I cannot give up any of the Asian. Let me keep going. I won't say
UK food, like non-immigrant UK food.
So, my family is my dad's parents are from Ireland, right? So I have a lot of that. So that's a funny one, right? Like, because that would be an easy one to give up.
I would say that's the one most people are like,
get that shit away from me, right? Like, it's like unseasoned potatoes and like uncooked or undercooked, like roast, whatever. But yeah, that has a place in my heart, right? Because like shepherd's pie, for example, right? Like that is a thing I think most people would never think of ordering, but my grandmother used to make it for me all the time, so it's just like I couldn't, so I'll say I think that would be a very easy one for like 95% of people to give up. I would have to claim that and keep that with me. Otherwise I would be sad. So and I guess like this would be cheating, right? But like I don't really know what like
German,
like Eastern European. I don't know what that.
That's
like,
Those are because I agree with that. Like the easy answer would be to say like some small country,
Polish,
right, where you might know one dish here and there. But I think when we ask this question, you got to have one of the big cuisines. But I'm with you on the UK thing though, because I love meat pies. Yeah, like one of my all-time favorite things is a meat pie. What is this? Sausage rolls. Yeah, those are so good.
Pepperoni rolls. They
and shepherd's pie as well. Yeah,
I'm going to Ireland in a couple weeks, and I'm gonna eat a lot of fish and chips. Yeah, gonna eat a lot of probably won't touch a vegetable for 10 days, but I can already feel like the illness upon me. But that I couldn't do it. So Indian. Australian's not a thing.
Another common one is Mediterranean, but Eastern Mediterranean. So like the more spicy type, Moroccan, Turkish, like where it's not like the Greek Italian, but more the cumin.
I do like that. I like Lebanese food.
Oh yeah.
I could do Ethiopian.
I
like Ethiopian. Yeah. If I never ate it, if I was going Ethiopian or Indian. I'll probably keep Indian and get rid of Ethiopian.
Okay, all right.
I know Ethiopian people. I think they're gonna be pissed at me.
Yeah.
They're gonna be like, "You screwed us. Yeah, we can never eat it again."
Oh no. But yeah, that is a very tough question though.
All right, here's another one. Favorite spot to get a drink? Just a drink.
Only a drink.
Just a drink.
No snacks.
No food. Just like where are you having a nightcap, or where are you popping in for something? Yeah. Could be a cocktail, could be a beer, could be a dive, could be a nightclub. Yeah. Where are you popping in for one?
It's a great question, man, because I'm definitely a big drinker. Vietnamese people love drinking. I love drinking. Boston loves drinking. So like all my identities like to
Yeah.
drink, right?
All your personalities.
All my personalities love to drink. So I think this answer definitely changes from what stage I was in my life, right? So the one I'm gonna say now is definitely not the one that would have been 5 years ago.
Sure.
And maybe I can give you some of those too.
Yeah.
But right now I'm really loving the Blossom Bar and Birds of Paradise drinks. So those ones, it's the same group, the same owner. It's actually not a group, but the guy who's behind those restaurants, his name is Doan. He won like most imaginative bartender of the year from GQ back in the day, and he was on like the cover of GQ with like Tom Brady and shit. And he basically reinvented his parents' Sichuan restaurant into like a modern Sichuan restaurant plus cocktail bar with like his award-winning cocktails.
Yeah.
And so you got great spicy food and delicious cocktails. So it's like it's an amazing combination. And those cocktails to me are really, really good. And the sister restaurant, Birds of Paradise, which is really close to my place in Watertown, also has really good drinks. But I mean, honestly, most of my life I was like a tequila soda guy.
Yeah.
Right, because I just go out and like drink. So most of those places would be the more party spots. I guess. Yeah. So
Hey.
Scorpion Bar, whatever.
Tequila soda.
Yeah.
Still drink it.
Yeah. Exactly. Same. Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever.
But now I'm getting to learn. Like I'm trying to learn more about cocktails and wine and stuff. Like instead of just like drinking to black out.
Have you been to or heard of Pharmacia in the North End?
I've heard of it. I have not been.
So I recently heard of it. You have to make a reservation like so on the first of the month at noon on the first of the month they open for like the 2 months out or whatever it is, and they're only open a few days a week. And I saw on Reddit people were like, it goes fast, don't wait. And I was like, how fast can it go? 1 minute.
Whoa.
1 minute when things started. So I got a Wednesday reservation, which was, it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I think. Saturday are the days it's open. So like at 9:30. And that was at 12:01 when everything else was like, like closing. So
crazy.
I will report back on that one. But people seem to really love it. It's like a I don't know it's like a cocktail omakase or something, right? It's like you show up and they give you 3 drinks.
That's pretty cool.
And I don't think you order anything.
Yeah, it's not up to you.
I think you just
zero consent cocktails.
Yeah. Just it says you will have 3.5 cocktails worth. So
wow.
I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah, I wonder why they picked. That's probably like the safe amount to like drive home.
Yeah. It's whatever. They've probably done the blood alcohol.
Yeah,
content,
exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
You're there for 3 hours. You have 3 drinks.
Yeah.
4 is you're legally intoxicated and we're on the hook.
Right. That sounds super cool though. Wow, I gotta check that out. Obviously, it's gonna be hard, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, July 1st.
That's when you're gone.
No, that's when the next time.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah.
I've heard that there's like what's it called? Like a third party, like a
broker.
You can like basically sell.
Oh wow.
You can like put like a StubHub. For,
Oh, that's so crazy,
for
man.
Pharmacia
wow.
reservations. So we'll.
That's wild.
We'll see.
Yeah.
All right. I think we can. You want to take a quick 6:10? We've been going for an hour. Almost.
Oh damn. Okay. Yeah.
So maybe just like one more question, kind of like wrap it up, and then
sure.
That feels good, and then, box you up with whatever you.
Hell yeah.
Take as much of this home, please.
Absolutely, dude. Yeah, this is good stuff.
Yeah. You had any questions you wanted? You good?
It's covered a lot of stuff. I mean, yeah, no, I think if you were to like. I mean, it's tough because you were kind of out of the scene. When did you move back again? How many years ago?
2021.
Yeah.
So 3 years. March 2021. So
yeah.
A little over 3 years.
You mentioned this in your brief, like in your email.
Yeah.
That like one of the things we might talk about is like what you feel like Boston could use or is missing. Like, do you have an opinion on that? Having traveled around a little bit, seen other cities.
Yeah, I would say, to me. as an uneducated, and I'm sure there are complexities that I
Right.
have no idea of. But from the time I've spent in other cities, I think the biggest thing holding Boston back from a fully realized restaurant nightlife world is like the ridiculous liquor license laws.
Yeah.
I think at the very least you should be able to get a beer and wine permit like tomorrow.
Right. Right.
I just think it is so hard for restaurants to win
Yeah.
when they have beer and wine and liquor.
Yep.
And that is like, having come from the liquor industry, that is a godsend to a restaurant, right?
Yeah.
Like, because the margins on food are just, they're not great,
No.
right? And the margins on liquor are awesome.
Yeah.
So like, why keep them from that?
Right.
Like, why stop? I think everyone who applies for a license should get one.
Yeah.
I think let them, like, the free market,
Mm-hmm.
kind of sit, like, if you have a liquor license and you're not making money, then you probably shouldn't have a restaurant, or like this concept's not working, and like
Right.
you should figure something else out. But like, to me, this like artificial constraint
Yeah.
of liquor license, like, is just, it's a huge deterrent to growth. It's also why, to what we were talking about before, that like, so people sell them like on the, like, you can sell your liquor license, right? So who can buy liquor licenses? Big corporate chains, right? Like Cheesecake Factory can come in and buy a license, whereas like some really cool mom and pop could never, right? They can't spend $500,000 on a liquor license, right? And so like, who is that good for? And then, the people who get the liquor licenses, they don't want more because that's value. They've invested their time and money. And so like, if we were to release liquor licenses everywhere, the thing that they bought for a few $100,000 would
Right.
become not worth it.
Yeah.
So I do understand that is kind of the flip side
Yeah.
of this, but like, it's not working, right? That
Yeah.
my 2 cents is like, it's continually keeping, I think, inventive, entrepreneurial people out, and it's just creating a world where like the deepest pockets will just continue to gobble up these
Yeah.
licenses. So to me, that would be something that I think, obviously, this is something I have thought about a little bit.
Yeah.
But again, not fully educated, but like, there are cities out there who you file a permit and in 30 days you get a liquor license, and it's like, it's not the make or break of your restaurant whether you have liquor or not. So
Yeah.
I don't know, but
Yeah. No, I totally agree, man. Yeah. Did you try to did you ever run into issues selling your brand up here, or did you even try to get up
we
there?
were mostly in California,
Yeah.
California, and then like kind of like the Southeast a little
Okay.
bit.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
it did. When you work, you go into a bar or restaurant and you're selling liquor, and it's like, they'll tell you like, I need it at this ounce cost because I need it to cover this, and it was, having not worked in a restaurant, you're talking to either the bar manager or the general manager, depending on the size of the establishment, and you really, you do kind of, you appreciate like, a good business is like, I need an ounce of vodka to cost me 70 cents or less. I cannot make a profit here if I'm getting it for 75 or 80 or 85 cents.
Wow, yeah.
And you see that and you're like, I respect that. Like,
Yeah.
that is a level of detail that I think is like, showing, versus like, I think people who might fail in that industry are just like,
Right.
"Yeah, fuck it.
Yeah.
Whatever you want.
Exactly.
But yeah, that would be, I don't know. Again, my uneducated opinion, I would say that's probably something that would help everyone, in my
Yep,
opinion,
yep.
except again for the people who might have them.
Mm-hmm.
Is there something that this last year, I know you've been
Yeah.
you've been eating out more, but
Mm-hmm.
you're immersing yourself. Is there like a thing for you that's like, we gotta tackle this piece and it'll help pull everybody?
I think like, if there's a piece that we have to tackle, it's what you mentioned,
Yeah.
right? I think like that's upstream of a lot of the problems that we're seeing and could unlock so much
Yeah.
awesomeness in Boston. But again, I have no idea about why,
Yeah.
like, what the complexities are there. But I think like, if we're gonna blue sky thinking it, it's
Yeah.
like, that would make it easier for, because the gaps, like, I've kind of noticed, right,
Yeah.
are newer, more innovative, especially ethnically diverse restaurants in the city, which just, you can't take a risk on that if you can't get liquor license.
Right.
And like, that just makes it just so expensive, you can't do it, right?
Yeah.
And so that's one. I think another thing maybe related is like, in a lot of other cities, there's areas where you can go and you can basically just walk around and
Yeah.
have so many options. So whether it's nightlife or food, I think a lot about this one street in I think Scottsdale Old Town, I think it's
Yeah,
called.
yeah.
But like it's basically just like all these bars.
Yeah.
You just hop between them,
Yeah.
and nothing like that exists here.
Yeah.
I think that would be really cool. And similar with restaurants, I think it's very in Asia, like Japan and the big cities out there, Vietnam. Like if you go to a city, there's a lot of tiny spots where you can just pop over, bite here, bite here, bite here. But I don't think that exists here, and probably has to do with the cost that makes the risk so high to make something like that.
Yeah.
Whether that's liquor licenses or real estate or whatever else. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Let the food and the vibes do the talking.
Exactly.
Right? Not just like buy the liquor license and then
Yeah.
you control everything.
yeah.
I think that is, I actually did see that there. I don't know who is leading this, but they're exploring something. I think in Dorchester
Mhm.
and Roxbury, one or the other,
Mhm.
where they're going to release like 5 liquor licenses a year, but it has to be locally owned. It cannot be transferred, so someone
Interesting.
can't get it. And so there's like it.
Yeah.
And I listen, 5 a year for 5 years. I don't think that's going to make a
No,
dent.
no.
But their head is in the right
Mm-hmm.
spot, right? So, well, let's give credit where credit's due.
Yeah.
Not shit on the politicians entirely, right?
And, exactly, and I get it too, because like government and politics is definitely it's risk averse, right?
Yeah.
Like, so they're just trying to play it slow, but I mean, there's so many examples. Just look at other cities. It's
Right.
not like ruining those places.
No.
So
Yeah, and I think like there's the laws were probably like, I would guess even before prohibition, right, where there was kind of religious impact, and prohibition certainly didn't help. But it's like, I think that I think there was a real need probably when you had a lot of, kind of transient workforce, just men coming from overseas and from Europe and wherever, and who are just like here to work, make money. And there was probably a lot of I think the world was a lot harder and tougher back then, right? And so you could probably argue a need to control when and where people could drink, because it was probably out of control,
Yeah.
right?
That makes sense.
If the movies, right, if like Gangs of New York is accurate, right?
Yeah.
Like it seemed like people were drinking probably too much. But I think that we've evolved, right? If you're gonna drink too much, you have plenty of avenues to do that. I don't think opening up more restaurants is gonna create more of that, like the sort of dark side of drinking.
Right.
I think it's gonna help businesses. All right, so I guess let's end with, we've talked about kind of, the community you're building, the travel that you're starting to do. Where do you see Chopstick Murphy's going in a year, 2 years? Like, what does this community look like? Is it's beyond Boston, I would say, hopefully soon, right? And you're continuing to grow. Like,
Yeah.
what is that kind of dream scenario that you're working towards? I think, because I think with what you've accomplished in a year, like I think anyone would be silly to think you're not going to continue to grow and blossom.
Yeah.
And I'd love to know kind of like, as much as you're willing to share, kind of what is that vision for this?
No, I appreciate the question, and I don't have a really good answer because I don't actually know what I think I'll be doing a couple years from now.
Yeah.
Like, it was so unplanned, this
Yeah.
whole thing, that it's just like, where can we kind of take it?
Mhm.
So you mentioned travel. I think I'm only trying that because of what I mentioned earlier, just like easier to monetize. But because of the name Chopstick Murphys, I think it always has to be rooted in Boston in some way. And plus, I don't think I want to like really move or become a name anywhere else. Like, I'd be very happy to just continue being like
Yeah.
a Boston food guy.
Yeah.
Occasional travel here and there. But on the content side, something that's been really rewarding to me is people like really resonate to certain pieces of content that I do, especially when I talk about very specific demographics. Like, I talk about being Asian a lot, or specific types of Asian a lot, like the differences between us.
Yeah.
I talk about how like Korean and Vietnamese people are very toxic, Filipinos are very fun, Thais are very loving. It's like, and people like that because
Yeah.
like, I feel heard, I feel seen.
Yeah.
And I talk about like Southie white people too.
Right,
Like,
right.
there's just all these like people that I talk about, and that's like a fun thing for me, like again,
Yeah.
storytelling. And so if I were to take the content in that direction, where I take even less focus on the food, and it's now even more about the different types of people that might enjoy a place.
Yeah.
I could see the account becoming kind of like a Asian food account,
Yeah.
right? Like where it's like, you know, there's a lot of Asian influencers out there that do like fashion, music, whatever. Currently I don't know of any that does food on a nationwide level. If I can do that, that'd be sick. I'm not like planning to, but like if it does go in that direction, that'd be cool. But what I actually am working on now is obviously the podcast.
Yep.
It's called Havers, where it's basically, you know, I'm very interested in entrepreneurship and success, and because of my platform now, I've been able to talk to a lot of people who have achieved a lot of success and love and successful relationships, failed relationships, and just talking about how to get there, and also the mental health implications of trying to chase that, because I find that a lot of people are on the surface very, you know, oh, you have it all, right? But then they're like, no, I don't have it. Like I still want so much more, or they're like, I'm actually really unhappy. And so those conversations I find really interesting. And so that's been a big focus of mine. And then on the food side, originally I'd wanted to open up restaurants. That's like why I started this. And I thought that if I could build my own in-house marketing, it'd be easier. But now I'm kind of like seeing that was kind of naive, and marketing is only a very small part of a restaurant. But with marketing, if you can affect a lot of different restaurants and impact a lot of different restaurants. So I'm starting, or I have started a marketing agency to help a lot of mainly modern Asian restaurants who want to tell their story and want to do so with personality. So that's kind of what I'm working on now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think I think that's the beauty of this thing, right? Is you go in with one intention, and then in a year, you know, one, I think you've grown it masterfully, and two, you realize like, oh, that thing you want in the beginning is never really what it is.
Exactly.
Right? It's just the carrot that's dangling in the moment. I think that's great, and I think that I think your attitude is I think you have a really clear view, right? Because, you know, I think a lot of people want like big, more, and it's like, you know, the thing, you know, you could, there's more money to be made just kind of owning the Boston market for this than like probably we could even imagine, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, I think that your attitude, you're you know, focusing on community, focusing on location, you know, focusing on that niche is like, I think it's going to pay dividends in a big way. And I appreciate you coming on, and I'm excited to see where it goes, and probably bug you for restaurant recommendations.
Oh, dude, anytime, man. I'm always happy to talk about that stuff. And I don't go to my page for restaurant recommendations because I'll never talk about it. But like, if you want actual recommendations, you can either DM me if you're listening, or just text me, and then I'll let you know.
Awesome.
But I appreciate you having me on. That was a lot of fun.
Awesome. All right, Christian, thank you again.
Thank you.
And yeah, that's all she wrote.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, guys.